Why to conserve? Learning objectives. Conservation. Definition. Forests, the foremost resources. Biodiversity. Threatened species. Red Data Book. Protected areas. Organizations on conservation. How to conserve biodiversity. Conservation. Definition. The origin of word conservation are two Latin words, con meaning together and servare meaning guard. Conservation means using the natural resources to such extent and in such a way that the needs of humans are fulfilled without exploiting them, and 2. They are left for the use of future generations also. Why to conserve? When human had very little needs of food and shelter, these were easily taken care of his environment. As the human grew mentally and discovered many things of comfort, he turned to nature. Nature had already provided the resources for his use and pleasure. But today the situation is such that man is totally dependent on the natural resources and most of them are not renewable. The depletion of these resources like coal, petroleum and natural gas has made the man to think of the ways which will not only ensure man's survival but will see to it that the resources are not completely vanished. To achieve this goal, the only way left is to conserve whatever resources are left. Forests, the foremost resources. Forests are the natural resources which had to bear the brunt of man's greed in a very cruel way. Man, when thought of leading a settled life, he cleared the forests and made agricultural land. Then he always turned to forests for his needs of timber for constructing houses and domestic fuel. He was also dependent on forests for animals and herbs. So, forests became the first casualty of man's greed and they continue to be so even today. Cutting trees in forest. Timber smuggling in forest. Biodiversity. The biodiversity includes all forms of life, i.e. plants, animals, microorganisms etc., on the earth. It reflects the number, variety and variability of living organisms and how these change from one location to another and over time. Biodiversity includes diversity within species, genetic diversity, between species, species diversity, between ecosystems, ecosystem diversity. So far scientists have named and classified more than 1.5 million creatures. Of these 0.5 millions belong to plants and rest to the animals. Scientists believe there may be from 2 million to as many as 50 million kinds of animals alive today. Forests are the most biodiverse terrestrial ecosystems. Together, tropical, temperate and boreal forest offer different sets of habitats for plants, animals and microorganisms. Holding the vast majority of the world's terrestrial species, this diversity has come from a gradual accumulation of differences between individual organisms through 4 billion years of evolution. Biodiversity therefore cannot be renewed in the human time scale. Once lost, this diversity would take many millions of years to recover. There are 12 big regions that are rich in biodiversity. These are called the megadiversity centers. India is one of the mega biodiversity centers in the world and has 2 of the world's 18 biodiversity hotspots located in the Western Ghats and in the Eastern Himalayas. Significance of biodiversity lies in the fact that it is the source of food, medicine, timber, milk, honey etc. Humans use at least 40,000 species of plants and animals on a daily basis. Millions of people around the world still depend on wild species for some or all of their food, shelter, clothing and medicinal needs. All of our domesticated plants and animals came from wild living ancestral species. Boreal forest. Temperate forest. Loss of biodiversity, reasons. Around the world, human activities are taking a heavy toll on wild nature. The ever-increasing human population and a consequent need for more food and shelter have led to unregulated exploitation of biodiversity like deforestation for agriculture and shelter, resulting in loss of habitat for plants and animals. Excessive grazing by animals leading to soil erosion. Unregulated extractive industries. Overfishing by giant industrial fleets. Deforestation. Illegal and unregulated hunting, fishing and trade in wildlife products are depleting many species. Degraded landscapes and dwindling species spell tragic consequences because the loss of biodiversity reduces the quality of life for all. For indigenous people that depend on healthy and productive ecosystems to meet their daily needs, their very survival is at stake. Excessive grazing. Hunting animals. Threatened species. The World Conservation Union, WCU, earlier known as International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, IUCN, gives the classification of threatened species of plants and animals, or we can say it has provided the conservation status of these species. Endangered species. It is a population of organisms which are at a risk of becoming lost due to its being fewer in number and 2. Threatened by changing environments. Many countries including India have laws offering protection to these species and their habitats. Blue whale, snow leopard and king's holly are some of the examples. Blue whale. Extinct. The last remaining member of the species had died or is presumed beyond reasonable doubt to have died. Passenger pigeon, dodo and thylacine are the examples. Critically endangered. The species facing an extremely high risk of extinction in the near future are critically endangered species. The examples are ivory-billed woodpecker, Arakan forest turtle. Vulnerable. These species face a high risk of extinction. Cheetah, Bactrian camel are the examples. Secure of lower risk. The species which have no immediate threat to survival. Examples are Norway rat, Nootka cypress, llama. Passenger pigeon. Ivory-billed woodpecker. Cheetah. Norway rat. Red data book. Red data books are being published in many different countries and provide useful information on the threat status of the various species. There is also a Red Data Book of India. The first volume of Red Data Book was published with 235 Indian plant species. The second volume of the book contains 200 rare and endangered Indian plants. In 1995, the third volume was completed, which contains the endangered animal species of India. There is one more Red Data Book that is published by International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, IUCN. According to this book, there are more than 1,000 creatures in the world threatened with extinction, some within a decade. Among these species are rhinoceros, Royal Bengal tiger, Siberian tiger, Mexican grizzly bear, red wolf, mountain gorilla, albinoryx, and Asiatic Royal Bengal tiger, Mexican grizzly bear, red wolf, mountain gorilla. How to conserve biodiversity. We have just learned about the endangered species of plants and animals. Knowing about them only is not sufficient. These life forms are to be protected and conserved, so that the imbalance caused in the biodiversity is stopped and resources are made available to the future generations. We can take up the following steps to ensure the conservation of biodiversity. Forests. Whatever forests are left should be protected. Cutting of trees should be prohibited. The people living near forests should be encouraged for social forestry to meet their needs of timber and fuel. Afforestation wherever necessary should be taken up. New trees should be planted of such varieties of plants which grow faster. Mass education about the importance of conservation should be imparted at grassroots level, so that common people are made aware about the importance of conservation. The movements like Vana Mahotsava should be encouraged through NGOs, non-governmental organizations, so that people's involvement in such events is made possible. The country needs to have more sanctuaries and national parks, so that more and more local species are brought under the conservation and protection programs. 7 proven steps to conserve biodiversity. The following 7 steps have been identified as key conservation steps based on sound science, experience and track record of success. It is essential that there should be synchronous activity in all 7 of these areas if we are to conserve biodiversity around the globe. 1. Involvement of local people for conservation. The people who live and work in conservation areas every day are the most likely to ensure their future, if empowered to do so. The participation of people living in the concerned area is essential, and ultimately conservation must be supported locally to make a lasting difference. 2. Integrating biodiversity and human needs. The conservation of biodiversity is to be done with effective practical solutions for natural resources which meet the needs of both biodiversity and people living in the area. 3. Direct protection of species and habitats. When a species needs urgent protection, or when human activity threatens the survival of a species, it should be protected but not in isolation. It should be protected with approach to maximize benefits to the entire range of species found in a particular habitat where the target species is found. 4. Creation of conservation parks/reserves. When a biologically diverse habitat is faced with imminent and irreversible damage, and traditional conservation is impossible, the only feasible way to protect species and habitat is through creating conservation areas specific for this purpose. 5. Emergency response by international conservation agencies. Many of the countries richest in biodiversity suffer from conflict, natural disasters or political and economic strife. In many cases, neither the people nor the governments involved have the resources or ability to protect their environments. In such cases, international conservation agencies should be brought in to protect a particular species or habitat. 6. Making policy and the practice of conservation. The biodiversity conservation cannot succeed in situations where policies undermine conservation or simply do not exist. The policies and practice of these policies at government level is essential for conservation. 7. Bridging the gap between business and biodiversity. The private sector will not embrace conservation until it realizes that it is good for business. The industries, which are usually the biggest polluters, should be encouraged to prepare industry biodiversity policies and strategies to manage sensitive and valuable species and habitats that are under their control. The following activities and practices may help to implement the above-mentioned strategic steps. We should follow them. Prevention of tree cutting, deforestation. Planting of trees, afforestation. Prevention of soil erosion by excessive grazing. Banning of hunting of animals. Reduction in independence of forest products like wood as fuel or building material. Creation of protected areas like national parks, biosphere reserves, etc. Prevention of illegal trade in banned animals and animal product. Control of forest fires. Environment awareness programs. Wildlife protection legislation and their strict implementation. Involvement of local people and NGOs for conservation. Planting trees. Regular census of animals, especially for endangered animals. Protected areas. Protected areas are such areas which have been demarcated by the government through legislations to conserve and protect the endangered and other species of plants and animals. The Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 guarantees the safeguard of these protected areas. Till date, India has established 515 wildlife sanctuaries, 106 national parks and 18 biosphere reserves, 12 of them recognized by UNESCO. Sci facts. Project Tiger. Tiger population decreased drastically from estimates of 40,000 at the turn of the century to 1,800 by 1970s. This led in 1973 to the initiation of Project Tiger with the objective of conserving and rescuing the species from extinction. 23 tiger reserves were set up. A total ban was imposed on hunting and trading in tiger products at the national and international levels. Between 1973 to 1989, the species showed a marked recovery. Project Tiger, Corbett National Park. Some of the famous Indian sanctuaries and national parks are: Sanctuaries. Bandipur Sanctuary, on the border of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, covering an area of about 30 kilometers. It houses elephants, sambar, bear, tiger, panther, deer and birds. Kaziranga Sanctuary, it is situated in Assam. It houses Great Indian One, horned rhinoceros, wild buffalo, sambar and tiger. Bandipur Sanctuary. Sci facts. A protected area as defined by the World Conservation Union, WCU, formerly IUCN, is an area of land and/or sea especially dedicated to the protection and maintenance of biological diversity, and of natural and associated cultural resources, and managed through legal or other effective means. Manas Sanctuary, located in Assam, it has wild buffalo, elephants and rhinos. Mudumalai Sanctuary, it is adjacent to Bandipur Sanctuary in Karnataka-Tamil Nadu border and has elephants, deers, pigs and birds. Periyar Sanctuary, located in Tamil Nadu. This is a home to elephants, wild boar, tiger, panther, sambar and gaur. Sundarbans, it is tiger sanctuary in West Bengal. It has also wild bear, deer and crocodile. Sundarbans. National Parks. A national park is a relatively large area of one or more ecosystems. This area is generally out of the human interference and population. The boundaries of a national park are fixed by legislation. Some of the famous national parks of India are: Hazaribagh National Park. It is situated in Jharkhand and houses a variety of birds and animals such as tiger, leopard, sambar and chital. Kanha National Park. It is situated in Madhya Pradesh. It houses panthers, nilgai, tiger and barking deer etc. Corbett National Park, located near Nainital in Uttarakhand. This park was earlier known as Haley National Park, but was later renamed after the famous sportsman Jim Corbett. It is the home to tigers, leopards, nilgai, elephants, chital and sambar. Corbett National Park. Kevladev National Park. It is situated at Bharatpur, Rajasthan. It is a freshwater swamp which is a part of Indo-Gangetic Plains. It receives migratory birds from Siberia and China which include herons, storks, cranes and geese. Kevladev National Park. Sanjay Gandhi National Park. It is located in Mumbai, Maharashtra. It has leopards and tigers. Sariskar Ranthambore National Park. It is located in Alwar, Rajasthan. It is famous for its tigers and is one of the best locations in India to see the majestic predators in its natural habitat. Biosphere Reserve. A biosphere reserve is a multi-purpose protected area to preserve the genetic diversity in the representative ecosystem. Its objectives are: I. To conserve diversity and integrity of plants, animals and microorganisms. 2. To promote research on ecological conservation. And 3. To provide facilities for education, awareness and training. There are 18 biosphere reserves in India, out of which 12 are recognized by UNESCO's MAB. 1. Nilagiri, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, set up in 1986. 2. Nanda Devi, Uttarakhand, set up in 1982. 3. Nokrek, Meghalaya, set up in 1988. 4. Great Nicobar, Nicobar Islands, set up in 1989. 5. Gulf of Mannar, Tamil Nadu, set up in 1989. 6. Manas, Assam, set up in 1989. 7. Sundarbans, West Bengal, set up in 1989. 8. Similipur, Orissa, set up in 1994. 9. Drusaikhova, Assam, set up in 1997. 10. Dehangdi Bang, Arunachal Pradesh, set up in 1998. 11. Pachmarhi, Madhya Pradesh, set up in 1999. 12. Kanchenjunga, Sikkim, set up in 2000. Organizations on conservation. The conservation of biodiversity has been a serious concern of the world communities. There are many government and non-government voluntary organizations working towards the conservation of biodiversity. Some of them are as follows. International agencies. 1. World Conservation Union, WCU, formerly known as International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, IUCN. 2. United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP. 3. Convention of International Trade and Endangered Species, CITE. 4. Man and Biosphere Programme, MAB. National Acts and Agencies. 1. Environment Protection Act 1986. 2. Fisheries Act, 1897. 3. Forest Act 1927. 4. Forest Conservation Act 1980. 5. Wildlife Protection Act 1972, amended 1991. 6. Indian Board of Wildlife, IBWL. 7. Department of Non-Conventional Energy Source, DNES. 8. Tata Energy Research Institute, TERI. 9. Department of Forest, Environment and Wildlife _ Government of India. Keywords. Biodiversity. All forms of life including plants, animals and microorganisms on Earth. Endangered. Species which are at the verge of extinction. Extinct. Species which have completely vanished from the Earth. Vulnerable. Species facing high risk of extinction in medium term. NGO. A non-governmental organization. Sanctuary. An artificial home for wildlife. National Park. A large area comprising one or more ecosystems with no interference from man. MAB. The Man and the Biosphere Program, a scientific program that aims to improve the relationship between people and their environment. It was launched in 1971 by UNESCO. Summary. The word conservation is derived from two Latin words con, together, and servare, guard. Conservation means to use natural resources without exploiting them. Man has always been dependent on natural resources. They need to be conserved for future generations and present judicious use. Forests are the first causalities of human greed. All forms of life on Earth are collectively called biodiversity. There are about 1,000 creatures all over the world which are threatened with extinction. Red Data Book gives the details of endangered plant and animal species. We should apply means and ways to conserve biodiversity. Protected areas are such areas which have been demarcated by the government to conserve and protect endangered species. India has 515 wildlife sanctuaries, 106 national parks and 18 biosphere reserves. Project Tiger was initiated in 1973 to protect tiger from extinction. Bandipur, Chandraprabha, Jaldapada, Kaziranga, Periyar etc. are some famous wildlife sanctuaries of India. Hazaribagh, Kanha, Shivpuri, Corbett, Kevladev national parks are some of the famous national parks of India. 12 biosphere reserves were established in various parts of country between 1982 and 2000. There are various agencies at government and voluntary level working for the conservation of biodiversity. Various acts have been enacted to ensure conservation of environment.